Why do we want to give up a government that has built one of the fastest growing economies in this hemisphere, to substitute it with what? They call themselves a coalition, but it is more confusion. And comrades, we have to fight them, and fight we will, to ensure that we win the elections in 2015. These elections is all about good over evil, and we all know that good always triumphs over evil. Every day, these people and their friends in the cultural news and the Starbuck news, they try to convince the people that we have destroyed this beautiful country, that we haven't done a single thing for the people. But comrades, you know better. You know what we have done. You feel what we have done. And you enjoy what we have done. They say that Guyana is our unhappy country. But comrades, you know, the truth always hurts. And it is hurting them. They hate us. And that is what made them come together. Hate, bitterness, and envy. We must let them know that like the scorpion, we have not lost our sting. And we must make them repeat over and over the lyrics. A scorpion bite me, I feel like I gone dead. And one Valentine darling must say to the other Valentine darling, put the banana in the bed. Comrades, they call for change, but we call for victory, because we are the change. We brought the change in 1992. When we said, time for change, time to rebuild. Change takes time. Rebuilding takes time. But we had warned that change will not come overnight. Especially when we inherited a country that was the poorest in the hemisphere. A country with a huge foreign debt. And a country where the people had lost hope. The change we speak about is taking place before our very eyes. Every day we are rebuilding. Every day we are hard at work. We have no time to lose. We ain't got time with them. Here comes the PYO. Let us welcome them. Gather the PYO! strong PYO members. 500 plus 500, 1,000 strong. Comrades, this is the future of the People's Progressive Party. This is the reservoir of the People's Progressive Party. Comrades, those in the opposition who want to dismantle what we have worked so hard to build, who want to turn back the clock of time, who want to take away all the gains that we have worked so hard to win. Let us bear in mind, and let us repeat it as our mantra, that danger is danger. Danger is danger. When you see a danger sign, you know exactly what to do. Don't go there. And a sweetheart from the AFC must be condemned for selling out what we have fought so long and hard to accomplish. We must expose him for what he is. The two Valentine Day lovers call for change. But let me warn, comrades, that you, the people of this country, were they ever to change the PPP government, then you will never ever for a very long time have change in this country again. We don't know what to expect, but we have seen what they have done in the parliament. We have seen their behavior. All the people of Guyana have seen this. The change they talk about is a change for the worse. And nobody wants a change for the worse. We in the PPP talk about change for better. From good to better. And from better to best. And remember, what's in my cup stays in my cup. What's in my cup stays in my cup. Comrades, the cup can only run over. Comrades, they claim that they have decent and honest people among them. But comrades, let me tell you, ring ting ting, ring ting ting, everybody hear this thing. What do they have? They have a rapist, they have a pedophile, they have an elections rigger, they have a ballot box thief, they have a gun runner, they have a namakaram, they have a shooter, and they have a junkie in their midst. Are these the people that we are going to give this government to? Whoa. I don't hear you. Whoa. Are these the people we're going to give this government to? Whoa. Comrades, are these the people that talk so much about national unity and building one nation? I tell you, comrades, and this is no Nancy story, danger is danger, but his sweetheart is equally dangerous. They talk about unity, but inside there is disunity, and they want to practice this disunity in divide and rule. They claim that they are the paragons of virtue. Why do they not account for the missing guns? Why do they not go before the Rodney Commission of Inquiry? Since they talk so much about transparency and accountability, that is where the transparency and accountability is. But here is what they stand for. We do some alphabet. What is A for? We're talking A, P, and U. A is for arms that gone missing. P is for pedophile. That means somebody interfered and they'll take P. N is for Namakaram. And U is for upside down government. That's what AP and U is all about. But what about AFC? A is for angry people. All these people angry, you don't see the face in the newspaper, or the vex. It's vex, the vex with Ramotar, the vex with Lumsden, the vex with Jagdeo, the vex with everybody else, because we are doing good. Comrades, F is for a bunch of fakes, a bunch of frantic people. And C is for confusion. That's the AFC. Comrades, we have to promote and we have to educate our young people. Tell them about our country's political history, how we got where we are today, and about the struggles of Cheddie and Janet and all the leaders of the PPP that followed us. We have to tell them about our future, the struggles of the future, and things to come. These elections are crucial. As I said, we faced the similar situation in 1961, and we are more or less back to where we started. Today, there are many similarities, but we must not allow them to succeed. The battle is on. We must go all out and bring every single person out to vote. Comrades, we in the party, in our groups, in our districts, in our region, in the clusters, every single one must be a soldier to win these elections. The voters list, all who are on the voters list must come out to vote. We don't want to hear any longer, are we winning already? That is a past saying. And comrades, we demand public vetting of all those who will be employed on elections day. We must know who they are, because the machinery is very critical and very important for us. The integrity of counting the votes must not be compromised. There must be no disruption, no shedding of doubt about the outcome of the elections in this country. There must be no violence should the PPP win these elections. The results of the elections must be announced as soon as possible. Every vote, young or old, counts. And we must win back the 10,000 and more votes we lost in Barbados. I appeal on behalf of the People's Progressive Party to every single Barbadian, to every single cane cutter, to every single fisherman, to every single worker, to every single housewife. And by the day, I salute on behalf of the People's Progressive Party all the women on the occasion of International Women's Day. We must all come out in our numbers, comrades. We have no time to lose. We must work and work and work and work as hard as we can to bring out everyone and to keep the spirit of Cheddie Jagan alive. We must work to ensure that what he worked hard for, to ensure that the PPP gets into office is not lost. Long live the People's Progressive Party! Long live the People's Progressive Party Civic! Long live the people of Guyana! Thank you! PYO! Babu John! Guyana! Forward we will continue under the People's Progressive Party! We'll now have a song by Sweet Kendingo.
Prime Ministerial candidate, our past president, our GS, my other colleagues up here, and you, the people of Guyana, the people we have been working for over the last 22 years. I am pleased, and we are all pleased to see so many of you out this evening, and all of you being comfortably pleased with what we have accomplished over the last 22 years. And we want to continue. We have achieved much, but there is still much more to do. And we want to continue in the work and in the direction pointed by our founder leader, Dr. Cheddie Jagan. Dr. Cheddie Jagan is truly the father of our nation. It is astonishing for those who read his Western trial and learn about his biography that this young man, even as a child, a firstborn Guyanese, living as he was in Fort Mourant amongst mostly immigrant persons in his immediate family, that he took so much to Guyana and he saw himself as the champion for all the peoples here in Guyana. And we know his life history. We know his formation of the Political Affairs Committee. You know about his founding, launching of the People's Progressive Party in 1950. And we know that he always set out, even from the very first, to ensure that in his leadership he had persons from all the sectors of Guyana. He truly dedicated himself to making a nation from the different fragments of peoples that history and fate had thrown together here. Not to become a nation, but to work on the estates. And he took up the challenge of making a nation out of us all. And so it is that every year we have a right to come here and remember his memory as the father of the nation. And I'm pleased to have been a part of the government that he led when he eventually returned to government and worked to reassure everyone that we will continue to make Guyana a better place for everyone. He worked to establish the economies that were here before, that were founded by our colonial people, and he also worked to bring about new economies. And in this regard, he was followed up by our past President Jagdeo, who brought into Guyana, initiated a number of new industries and economic activities. We're not a party that only looks to the past. We're a party that has always been looking to the future to make a better life for every Guyanese. And I'm particularly pleased, at this my last occasion as Prime Minister, to feel that I have achieved quite a bit. And I feel comfortably pleased working a lot with my old buddy Clement Rohee in establishing the links to the hinterland and the links joining our villages all across our interior. Our colonial masters may have set in place in their time the coast, but we have a challenge to develop our hinterland, and we are well on the way in developing our hinterland. I regret that I couldn't come to you today with a mile already in construction. That's something I regret. I regret that I couldn't come to you today with a new telecoms law that ends the monopoly and brings us into a new situation. But these are things that I'm sure once you return us to office on the 11th of May, that we will quickly get about and continue the development of our country. And I'm pleased to be followed by Mrs. Elizabeth Harper, someone who has worked with us all, particularly the Office of the President, over these years to follow up and make sure that Guyana gets the best in the international world. So, comrades, here I'm not saying farewell. You won't see the end of me. I will always be there to challenge you. I'll always be there to challenge you and to walk about with a Western trial and read the parts from it and challenge you if ever I see you falling away from the direction that Dr. Jagan established for us and for all of Guyana. And I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Prime Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now have tribute by former President Dr. Bharrat Jagdeo.
Colleagues, friends, comrades, since this is the first occasion that we are gathered as an extended PPP family, since we have made the decision to have Elizabeth Harper as our new Prime Ministerial candidate, may I, on your behalf, on behalf of the PPP family gathered here today, say a special thank you to Prime Minister Hinds. Prime Minister, thank you for the struggle that you have shouldered jointly with us. Thank you for your decency and integrity and hard work. Thank you for being strong in the face of the most vile and pernicious attack that the opposition waged against you. You withstood those attacks with dignity, and it was largely because of who you are. You never lost faith, in us and the path that we chose to take this country forward. We never lost faith in Cheddie Jagan's dream. And today, we're not losing faith in Cheddie Jagan's dream. We're going forward to building a country that we all going to be proud of. And you will be able to look back, Prime Minister, and say, I played a part in that dream. I played a part. And all of you here today, you have and you will continue to play a part. You will continue to play a part on May 11th and thereafter so that we can move this country forward. And Elizabeth, we're happy to have you on board. We know of your capacity for hard work, your patriotism, your love for the country. And the attack has already started. It will be vile against you. Ignore them. Let your dignity and strong character shine through like our Prime Minister did. They can't change no matter how much they write about us, how many negative things they say about us, how they try to rewrite history. They can't change who we are. They can't change what we've accomplished. And this, today, I want to talk about our accomplishments. I remember my father. When I was in primary school, I remember how he was. He always tried to show that he was strong, at least mentally. And I saw him cry 2 times in my life. Once when I left this country to go abroad and study, and the second time was when the army came at 6 p.m. in the afternoon at Gibson Primary School. I was in primary school at that time. And they surrounded the school and took away the ballot boxes and chased everyone out. And I saw him cry out of frustration. Frustration because in his own country, he didn't have a say. He couldn't choose the people that he wanted to rule him. Unfortunately, you, the young people here, as you sit here with your bright faces, you don't have to go through that experience again. And my experience was not unique to me. I'm sure that hundreds of young boys and girls who lived in my period looked to their parents and saw them cry in frustration and become angry in frustration because we lived in a freedom, a country where people had snatched our freedom and dignity away from us. And I can imagine in the colonial period, when we were fighting for independence too, how many young boys and girls and people saw their parents make sacrifices too at that time. But we were all guided by the PPP and Cheddie Jagan's vision. And the key thing for me, the key achievement of the PPP is that we have restored pride to this country. We have restored dignity to people's lives. We're ensuring that no child will have to go through that traumatic experience again. And the thing that bothers me is that the same people who snatched those freedoms away from us, they have come back in new guises. They're there again. The grenade was presided over the destruction of our economy. He was the one, if you read the 1992 budget, it is a chronicle of a nightmare scenario. And today, even this morning, he speaks about the future and economic strategy and make it seem as though the women who had to go in lines and stand up for hours to get a pint of oil, and that when you could leave Guyana only with $100, when people had to line up to get the price farmers to get twine just to sew their paddy bags. And when you had to go to a KSI to buy food, that is a government institution, he wants to make you believe that that was just a dream. that it did not happen in reality. Because if you believe it's a dream, then you're going to be forgiving to them. But we know the truth. It's not a dream, and we're going to never allow them to relive that experience again. So will you stand with us on that? And Granger was in the army when the ballots were stolen. He was in the army when the guns went missing that we found with the criminals. And all we were asking him, he was in the army, as Rohee said, when Rodney was killed, and not in a junior position, very, very senior position. And he is saying, I don't have to account for that. That is in the past. So I'm new, I'm fresh. Forget that. We believe people have to come to the table if they're seeking public office and account for their record. And Granger must account for his record to the people of this country before he attempts to be their president. Because how do we know he's not going to return to that period? And in fact, I think his whole economic strategy, his own mindset, his philosophy is dominated by that period of Burnhamism. They've gone back to the old Burnham philosophy about 3 vice presidents, a prime minister and a president. That is exactly from Burnham era. They've gone back to reinstituting, they want to reinstitute national service. They argue that Jagdeo's pension will break the treasury. But there are 5 persons now that this nation will have to carry. 2, 3 vice presidents, a prime minister and a president, and they talk about cutting costs and cutting the VAT so that they can so that we can spend more money on people. This is all age-old Burnhamism, vintage Burnhamism. And because Granger, I don't want to say anything, but he's getting up there in age. And he is stuck in that mindset. The time warp of the 70s and the 80s. He draws his inspiration, his philosophy from that period. So I was not surprised when Henry Jeffrey, one of their biggest lovers, called his speech at the launch of fluff. It was fluff, more fluff, and all about fluff. And if you want to talk about the same things that he mentioned, ICT, etc., I can stand here tonight and speak for 4 hours on ICT, new frontiers of growth, our plans for the education sector, healthcare transformation, how we intend to tackle poverty, what we're going to do about sugar in the future, how we're going to ensure that rice farmers can get their paddies out. And we can talk about it. We can talk about that because we've gone through it, we've lived through it, we're working it through. It's not all easy. It is not all easy. And running countries is not about easy affair. But all we have heard from the opposition, I said this in the past when I spoke, I said we know what they're against. They're against the Barbies Bridge, they're against the specialty hospital, they're against the hydro, they're against the Marriott Hotel, they're against helping rice farmers, they're against the sugar industry. In fact, they said they'll close the sugar industry. They're against every single thing. You do not run countries by being against things. What are you for? What do they stand for? They never engage in a policy debate. So they're opposed to hydro that will bring cheaper energy to people so that their light bills can come down because the cost of living is escalating in terms of electricity. We import all the oil from abroad that we use. So they want to kill it. But what is their alternative? How are they going to bring cheaper electricity to the country? What are their plans? Nothing. Zero. But they're opposed to ours. Opposed to ours. So comrades, we need to go back to the Cheddie Jagan philosophy. I will come to that in a minute. Now, they're saying that they're the change. But how could they be the change? Rambutan been around for donkey years. Nagamotu been around. Greenwich been around. Granger been around. Carberry been around. Oscar Clark been around. The whole bunch, Sharma been around. Well, he's hiding now. But they've been around. They're not changed. So what they have changed is the name. So they contested 1992 as PNC, 1997 as PNCR, then 2001 as PNC1 Guyana, then the last elections as what? The APNU, now APNU AFC. They've been changing their names. That doesn't change the substance of the opposition, does it? No. Does it change the characters who are there? No. They're the same people. But let me tell you about change. If you talk about change in this country, people don't like us to go back to 1992, particularly the opposition. They say, oh, it's too far back. And maybe that's true. But let me tell you, even among ourselves, that because we've been living the change, sometimes we don't recognize it. And so, how many of you know that we have transformed the entire financial sector? How many of you know that we've put in place a new Companies Act, a new Insurance Act, a new Bank of Guyana Act, a new Financial Institutions Act, new securities legislation, the deed registry modernization, a Revenue Authority Act, new procurement legislation, hire purchase legislation. All of these things renewing the financial architecture for modern, vibrant Guyana. And maybe I can go through in details about what these acts change. But let me tell you the results of the change. Because we have done that, because we have managed our economy well, today the young people of this country don't have to carry a burden where the debt was 7.5 times the size of our economy. Today it's about 60% of our economy. Today you spend less than 5% servicing all the debt of the revenue. You would have them, if you listen to them, believe that we have increased the debt. It's not true. We're spending less than 5% of revenue to service debt. When we got into office, it was 94%. That's change. And the economy was $300 million when we got in office, 300 million US. It's over $3 billion US now. That's change. And they had $100 million in the central bank as reserves. Now it's about 700-800 million. That's change. And inflation rate has come down to single digits from triple digits in the past. That's change. And with today, aggregate deposits, that's people's wealth in the banking system has grown 15-fold. Interest rates have come down. So businesses can now invest and they can create jobs for people. That's change. That is the kind of change we talk about. We're not just talking about change in a rhetorical way as a slogan. We have done things to change this country. That is why people are sticking with us. Now, many of us don't even remember these changes because we have lived through them. The young ones too, maybe they're not interested. But we let them get away with our short memory, and because of them rewriting history, and they have some very hostile to people, they get away with painting us as people who have not transformed this country. What has changed in Berbice? You can drive on a bridge to come over here. There's a campus in Berbice. The roads are done back. The schools are done back. We stuck with sugar. We stuck with sugar when the whole world was cutting down and the region was changing sugar. And sugar is vital to the entire economy. Not because they like to make things all about racism. It helps everybody, all Guyanese, the sugar industry. That has changed. when 65% of the students had to fail in 1992 common entrance because there was no space in secondary schools to take them. They had to stay in the tops of primary or go to community high, so their lives were finished. Today we are approaching universal secondary education. That has changed. That has changed. And there's been the largest expansion of housing and people's land ownership in our entire history, colonial period and in the post-colonial period. And you drive around, it's not only Jagdeo and a couple of ministers who have big houses. Go around the country and you will see what is happening, the transformation. And if you walk, look, people used to go with bicycle and donkey carts to public meetings. I passed by the Square of the Revolution when the PNC had a meeting. It's traffic jam. They all own vehicles, and there's no progress in this country. No progress in this country. That has changed. And today, what has changed is that the media can criticize the government, and they don't have to worry at night someone will go and pick them up in their homes and fetch them away like in the PNC area. That has changed. They're free to do that. And what has changed is that Parliament today, they can say whatever they want in Parliament. They have a say. We changed the Constitution, but in several committees that they control. Now, we got the Auditor General to report directly to Parliament when he had to report to the Minister of Finance in the past. To Greenwich himself, that has changed. And what has changed is that from no accountability, 10 years under Greenwich. You know, Greenwich never, as Minister of Finance, presented an audited statement to the National Assembly. 10 years. From 1992 to now, every single year we have done it. That has changed. When we talk change, it's not just about slogans. We're not just talking about slogans. We're talking about reality. We're talking about more call centers for young people and a better quality education. And in the past 10 years, more students have scholarship than the entire period from independence. Now we have, when we had 152 doctors in the public health system, now we have close to 1,000 doctors funded by the PPP, ensure that they are there. Of course, people now, there is no money shortage to buy drugs. We do have problem with drugs sometimes because of the distribution. But not money shortage, not a cent short, because we have the resources to do that. We're expanding healthcare. We tried to expand healthcare in the specialty hospital. They killed it. They thought it was, as I said before, specialty means for special people. Specialty didn't mean for special people. It meant that if your father or mother gets a heart attack, that their lives can be saved here in Guyana for $5,000. And because they can do open heart surgery. Or if they get some problem with their hip, they can have the joint replaced just here. That is what we were doing that they killed. So comrades, the change has to be about real things. It can't be a rhetorical gap about change. And now, let's see what they have done in other places. Let me tell you, the past 3 years must have been a nightmare for Ramotar. Must have been a nightmare. Every plan that the government has put forward, they have tried to stymie. Every single plan. And Donald, you're a democratic man. Sometimes we need to administer something else, you know, some kicks up some asses too. Because we allow them to frustrate, and they use one-seat majority to frustrate everything. They cut $89 billion from the budget in 3 years. $89 billion that would have gone to help the people of this country. It's from Amerindian development, over $4 billion. Now, they They go into the interior to campaign, but they don't tell the Amerindian people that they cut from the budget $4 billion. They cut the money from the one laptop per family. We were hoping that 100,000 families would get a free computer, the poorest families. They haven't been able to fulfill it because of the cuts that they instituted there. They cut the higher door, a whole range of other things. But more importantly, they said, we're going to bring down this government, take away 2 years from them. That is what the AFC wanted. So twice it happened in our history. We allowed these people in the past to take away 2 years from us through the Hardman-Sen Accord, and now through this new Cummings-Berg Accord, they have taken away another 2 years from us in our term. And you know what AFC said? The reason they will do that is because Ashni Singh restored $4.5 billion of budget cuts. Now Ashni Singh didn't take the money and put it in his pocket like you would believe them say. Ashni Singh didn't act illegally. Ashni Singh acted with the consent of the cabinet of this country. He acted correctly. But the money was spent on the student loan program. So they go to the University of Guyana and say, we love students, we're going to make sure the university does well. And they cut over $200 million from the student loan. But people, we don't pay attention to this. We get caught up in their rhetoric, so we think somehow Ashni Singh did something wrong. Ashni Singh restored the money so that the Amerindian projects can go ahead. That is what he restored the money for. And they want to bring the government down because of that. Ashni Singh restored money so the low carbon development strategy could be pursued. That brings benefits to people's lives, comrades. And they cut that. And then they use the cuts as they're saying Ashni Singh restored it, to bring down the government, to say we need a no confidence vote. But it was all a ploy. So we have to be very careful. We have to be careful about the racism that they try to portray. So they've already started, which is the usual thing with them. They do the ethnic count. They say a lot of Indians migrated. And by the way, the American embassy said they gave 51,000 visas, 10 years visas. And guess what? 48,000 people came back. So I was thinking about this, and I'm thinking, you know what? We did a great thing for Guyana, because in the past nobody would have come back. But because of this country, because of the changes here, people don't want to stay. They go on holiday and come back. They get their stuff. But you call your relatives in New York, half of them catching their ass too. So you talk about this and what's up, and talk to the people from Antigua and from Barbados who went there as workers. How many of them are coming back because of hardships there? We have insulated our economy. We've made it strong. It has had continuous growth for the past 7 years. It's doing well in spite of the global recession. And that's why people see progress here. So 48,000 of them come back, and I'm sure the 3,000 others will be running back here soon with another PPP victory. But they do the ethnic count. So Nagamoto said the 11,000 Indians that he got transport on, that he will take back to APNU. A public statement from Nagamoto that he will deliver 11,000 Indians to the PNC. It's in the papers. So he got transport on these people. This is already the ethnic kind of count. We come from a philosophy. Cheddie Jagan believed in ensuring that the People's Progressive Party remain above the fray. People's religion, their race, their gender don't matter to us. If you're part of the PPP family, we embrace you. regardless of your race and religion, because we believe this country can change only if all of its people benefit. And we have no apologies for that. Absolutely no apologies. But they consistently, they shout about racism of the PPP, but they practice racism. They whisper campaigns. In the last elections, they went to some of the Afro-Guyanese villages and beat some drums at 6 o'clock in the morning and say, let us throw these coolie people. Get up, go out and vote, throw the coolie people. That's the kind of language they use. Anybody from our party who uses that sort of language, will kick them out. That is our approach. But they are different. They started the ethnic thing. And comrades, let me tell you, it must be naivety on the part, or desperation on the part of the AFC to link up with APNU. Because one, they've betrayed all those people who thought, who were misled to believing that Ramjatan and Nagamutu really cared for them. They cared for themselves. They've secured vice president's position and prime minister position for themselves. Now, Nagamutu he wanted it in the People's Progressive Party. He contested against Ramotar, he lost. Then he left. But let me tell you something. You're so naive. When we come to decide who, I'm looking for nomination day, who will be the leader of the list. And when they choose a leader of the list, and I suspect it's going to be Granger. Remember, they're contesting as one party. So the leader of the list decides who goes to parliament. And they're going to be in for a rude awakening. Rude awakening. The UF had it in the past and they will get it. Because they don't have any leverage anymore. There is no AFC after nomination day. There is no FC. There is a PNC. One ticket. They have to go with. You can't go with. Don't worry with the name AFC APNU. It's to fool people. There is only one list of candidates they can put up and one head of that list. And Granger, I predict, shall be the head of that list. So even if they get thrown out from the APNU, if they get kicked out of parliament, they can't do anything about it because they have no leverage. There is no AFC. There is no AFC parliamentarian. There is nothing. It's naivety or ambition, blind ambition, that caused them to even ignore sensibility. Comrades, and so you will see what will happen. We warned in the past election that this is going to happen. They're going to collaborate, and people didn't believe us. And now you've seen it happen. It's going to get even worse for them. But for me, for all of us here, Cheddie Jagan's vision of Guyana remains strong. A country living with all of its people living together, a country that is prospering, where every child gets the best education, where the young people can grow up to have a good education and find a job, where people can have increasing leisure, where our economy is expanding, where people have more rights, where they feel dignified and they feel safe in their homes. This is the vision of Guyana that we are all working to get towards. So we need soldiers to make that vision a reality, and the soldiers here have to first of all ensure that on May 11th, we win this one overwhelmingly. And in a two-horses race, everyone especially matters. So we have to do this together. Let us move forward. Let us re-elect the PPP to continue the progress in this country. Thank you very much, comrades.
Thank you, Dr. Bharrat Jagdeo. I'll now wish to call Comrade Hyder Ali will make public the winners of the recently concluded essay competition.
Thank you, Lord Chairman, Excellency President Donald Ramotar and First Lady Ramotar, Prime Minister Samuel Hinds, Former President Dr. Bharrat Jagdeo, PPP General Secretary Clement Rohee, other dignitaries, comrades, friends. Both Dr. Jagan and his wife Janet were known to be very prolific writers. And we in the Jagan committee thought it would be a good thing to do an essay competition to keep the Dr. Jagan legacy alive. I am pleased to announce the winners of that competition. And the topic of the competition was Dr. Jagan, my hero. And I want to say that even though the competition was limited only to the Region 6 schools, we had entries from 51 of the 54 primary schools and 16 of the 17 secondary schools. In all, there were over 500 entries, for which a total of 103 entries were shortlisted. Comrades, I want to take this opportunity to thank the Department of Education of Region 6 for doing quite an excellent job in getting these students to participate in the competition. As I mentioned, comrades, there were two levels of the competition. One was at the primary level, which attracted ages 10 to 13 years, and there was the secondary school, which attracted the 14 to 17 years. And I want to take this opportunity now to call on the following students who would have won the essay competition, and I have to say that the essays were of a very, very high quality. I want to urge you to give these students a very big round of applause. At the primary level, we have Charlie and her from Newmarket Primary School. In second place, it's Rukmini Uttam from St. Therese Primary School. And the third spot was won by DeAndre Smith from New Amsterdam Primary School. At the secondary school level, the first place went to Darshini Outar, Vibans Urban Secondary School. The second prize went to Badatsa Ramnarayan from Bobby's High. And the third spot to Himalaya Dudna from J.C. Chandy Singh Secondary School. I am informed that the winners will also receive a trophy with their names engraved on it, which will be placed at the Red House, the Cheddie Jagan Research Center. And let me say also that there will be books for each of the winning schools. And I don't know if the window is here to uplift the books for the winning school. Please give the winning school a round of applause as well. Thank you very much. And that brings us to an end to the award ceremony. And I am just going to display the trophy. As you can see, a wonderful trophy that will be placed at the Cheddie Jagan Research Center for the winning thing. Comrades, I thank you very much.
Thank you, Comrade Aidar. Can we give those kids another round of applause? Ladies and gentlemen, Comrades all, can we all stand as we give a dynamite welcome to our next speaker? It's no other than His Excellency, the President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, Comrade Donald Ramotar.
Thank you very much. Honorable Mr. Chairman, Honorable Prime Minister, Comrade Samuel Hinds, Former President Bharrat Jagdeo, Ministers of the Government, the head of the Presidential Secretariat, Comrade Roger Luncheon is here. Give him a long round of applause. Members and leaders of the People's Progressive Party, the family of Comrade Cheddie Jagan, I see his sister Barbara here, and if there are others, welcome. Our women folks, today, International Women's Day, congratulations and best wishes. Our General Secretary of the People's Progressive Party, comrades and friends all. Once more, we have come to this spot to remember the work of our hero, Comrade Cheddie Jagan. And it is indeed a very happy coincidence that today, as we celebrate his life and as we remember his work, that it is coinciding with International Women's Day. Because Comrade Cheddie Jagan was at the forefront in the fight for women's rights in this country. And when he started his political work, women did not have the right to vote. Women did not have the right to work. Women could not get married if they were nurses. There were many, many rights they did not have. And it is his work that transformed that. And that is why today it is such a happy coincidence that our meeting today coincides with International Women's Day. It is already 18 years since Comrade Cheddie passed away. It was one of the most sad days in my life. Those of us who grew up with him, who knew his tremendous value to the nation and to the party, recall that it was no other person than Jimmy Carter who once said that Cheddie Jagan was the greatest asset that Guyana ever had. And that is why I consider that we have been very fortunate to be led by a man of such capacity and to have had the opportunity to learn from him and to see how to manage our country and to develop Guyana. Carter said that because Cheddie Jagan was not merely a politician, he was a statesman, he was a great communicator, a philosopher, and a profound thinker. I have had the good fortune to see him grapple with complicated problems and the way he came up with solutions to those problems. There are those who would like to put him in a mold of an inflexible person who holds on to views regardless of the conditions. That is not true. It is true that he held on to principles and refused to compromise on principles, because those compromising on principles for him would have been betraying the people of our country. And Cheddie Jagan was not of that mold. Indeed, when we go back to history and you see the split in the party in 1955 was a split on the basis of principle. It was the principles that were involved that he did not compromise on. And every single disagreement that he had, it was on the question of principle. However, Cheddie Jagan was totally undogmatic. He warned us several times against dogmatism, pointing out for him his analysis began with real situation that exists, the balance of forces in the world and in the country, and what was possible and what was possible at any point in time to advance the interests of the Guyanese people and nation. All his speeches, all his writings are characterized by this approach. It is this approach, this methodology, that continues to guide the thinking of the party and the government. Today, we are meeting at a time of heightened political interest that is being shown largely because of the fact that on May 11th we will have national and regional elections in our country. How did we come to this stage? Why is it that we have come to this stage here today? After all, as you know, elections are not constitutionally due until the end of 2016, beginning of 2017. I could have stayed on in government when the prorogation of Parliament comes to an end, to call it back and prorogue again. And I could have done so right down to the end of 2016. But I chose not to. I chose not to because I want to be president of a country where we can transform it and make it better. The PPP General wants to be in government to change the quality of life of our people, to continue to make those changes in our country. We do not want power for the sake of power. For us, winning the election is a means to an end, and that end is to lift the quality of life of our people. That is what this struggle is for today. My comrades, when I prorogued the Parliament, they accused me of being a dictator. Me of all people, they accused of being a dictator. Comrades, I prorogued the Parliament. I could have gone to the elections immediately. But I know that at the last elections, thousands of Guyanese did not get their names on the voters list because of the fact they did not have their source documents. I prorogued the Parliament to allow the GCOM to have a second round of registration, and more than 7,000 new voters came on the list who should have been on the list at the last elections. I prorogued the Parliament because I wanted to appeal once again to the opposition for reason. The joint opposition has put this country on a great path of danger. The fact that they refused on 2 occasions to pass the anti-money laundering bill. If we do not pass that bill, there is danger that our financial sector could be blacklisted. And that means that all of us will be harmed because it will harm our economy as a whole. The opposition had 2 occasions to decide which side they stood for. Are they standing on the side of the people or standing to defend criminals by not supporting the bill? On 2 occasions, they decided to vote to protect the drug traffickers and the money launderers in our country. That is why they did not support the bill, the anti-money laundering bill. Because maybe that's where they're getting their finances from. And that is one of the reasons that they're speaking from both sides of their mouth. How can they say they're against crime and they're against drug trafficking and vote against the anti-money laundering bill? I tried. I asked them. I wanted to ask them again to sit with me in the interest of our people and move this bill forward, and they refused to talk. And that is why we are in this situation that we are in today. And comrades, recall my speech. It is true. Former President said I must have gone through a lot of frustrations over the last 3 years. And that is putting it mildly. That is putting it very mildly. To see projects after projects that can transform our country and make it a better place, to see them moving against us, against this. What I did not have in the opposition benches, I did not have patriots, people who were interested in the development of our country and our people. I had narrow-minded people who seemed to believe that if they can make things bad in our country, if they can drive us back to the lines for a quarter pint of oil and a pack of cigarettes, they hope that will change their political fortunes. That is what I had to deal with over the last 3 years. Not one single day, not one day did they use their one-seat majority to save Ramotar, build more roads and bobbies, build more schools for our people, build more hospitals for our people. Not one single day. Instead, they used the one-seat majority to cut $89 billion from our budget. $89 billion that will have gone to develop the people of our country. And I tried. My friends, I really tried. You will recall in my first speech to the National Assembly at its 10th Parliament, I said then that this is not the worst thing that can happen to us, that a joint opposition got a one-seat majority in the Parliament. That if they are willing to work with us, we can move our country forward. I tried to talk with them. I invited them to speak on our first budget, to consult with them. They made agreements and they broke them hours after. The agreement about the electricity supplies at Linden, because Linden electricity had a higher subsidy than the rest of the country. And we wanted to equalize that. We want everyone to have the same subsidy. Largely because at Linden the electricity is so cheap that a consumer there consumes 3 times as much electricity as other consumers in this country, to help us to conserve. But we were not going to take it off at one time. We were going to do it ease by ease, so that it will not be painful on the consumers. The opposition agreed. Prime Minister Sam Hinds went to the Parliament. He showed Mr. Granger the agreement, his speech that he would have made announcing to the Parliament that we had an agreement with the opposition. He showed it to Granger and Rupert to see if he had captured completely the agreement. They looked at it and they said yes. Lo and behold, before the end of the day, they were denying that they had an agreement with us. And that is what led to the debacle in Linden, in which some people lost their lives. That is what led to them organizing protests at the brickyard, burning tires and beating and robbing people when they were going home. That is what they have done. They have undermined the confidence of any talks with them. But I didn't give up. I did not give up. I invited them to speak to me about their Mila Falls. I gave them every single document we had on this project. And I remember telling them that this project is bigger than all of us. This project will help to transform their country. And I know that in the last elections, both parties had hydropower in their manifesto. And I thought that this would be an easy sell. I even offered them to give them a full presentation. And I offered them, if they had more questions, that my technical people were willing to deal with their issues. They took the documents and went away. I never heard from them again. When we were about to close the deal, I once again invited them to my office. And I spoke to them, had a second presentation to them, telling them that the IDB and Site Global and Blackstone were on board. And now was the time for us to construct this station. They said that they wanted to see the road and they wanted an opportunity to see the falls. We flew them on the road and had them to stop at any part that they wanted. We flew them over the falls. They came back and they made positive sounds at their press conference. But lo and behold, again, they voted against it. Clearly, their problem is not the lack of consultations. Their problem is not the lack of involvement, because we bent over backward to involve them. The problem is that they want power for the sake of power. They want to run this country as if it is their personal property. That is what they want, and that we must stop them from doing on May 11th of this year. Comrades, despite the efforts of the opposition, despite the fact that they did every single thing to prevent our country from going forward, and no one else has faced such an opposition, yet our country continued to grow. Our economy over the last 3 years, the nominal GDP grew by approximately 25% over the last 3 years in the face of the opposition sabotage and uncooperation with us. It was $2.6 billion in 2011. Today, it is a $3.2 billion economy that we have. And that is taking the circumstances that the former president mentioned just now about the international situation that we had to deal with. Add to that the fact that we had an opposition that did everything actively to stymie progress. That is great progress and great changes that we have brought to our country. It speaks about good management and good governance that we have been practicing in our country from the very beginning. And while we have a growth in the economy, we continue to keep inflation at a minimum level. In 2013 it was less than 1%. Inflation was less than 1% in 2013. We slashed the debt with the APNU. With the PNC now disguising themselves as APNU. Made for us when we heard that 96% of our revenue was servicing the debt. We cut that debt. It is true. They will tell you that we got debt write-off and get debt forgiveness. That is true. But we got that because we were practicing good governance. But also the fact remains that we paid more than $1 billion from our treasury for the debts that the PNC have to put this country in. If we had, and we had nothing at all, we have nothing at all to show for the debt that they put our country in, trapped us in. We reduced that. We reduced that significantly, and we are now only paying 4% of revenues to service the debts that we have. We have also been able to increase our savings. That was mentioned just now. I need not repeat those figures for you. Our savings in the bank has increased. Credit to the private sector has increased tremendously as well over the last 3 years, showing that even in the face of such terrible opposition, the PPP Civic was able to move our country forward. Moreover, comrades, we have expanded social services for our people. Social services for us is extremely important. When we got into office, the then PNC government, now using all kind of substitutes to change their names. By the way, who likes to change their name? What type of people like to change their name? Criminals hiding from the police who want to disguise themselves. Those are the people who like to change their names. And it's the same old PNC we're dealing with. My comrades, they were spending more money on the Ministry of Foreign Affairs than they were spending on health, education, housing, water and agriculture put together. We changed that. We changed that in our country. And we use, in these special circumstances, in these occasions, we use our social sector as a means of redistributing income in our country. No parent, regardless of their economic circumstances, no parent have to worry if their children got ability, if they will be able to expand. We not only achieved universal primary education, but we are a hair's breadth away from achieving universal secondary education in Guyana. Very soon, the minimum standard of education in our country will be at the secondary level in Guyana. Comrades, where in the world you find a government giving all the books, textbooks to school children, exercise books, assisting parents with school uniforms, and last year, helping the parent with each child in school with $10,000 so that they can keep their kids in school. That is why today Guyana can boast of having the least dropout rates in the whole Caribbean in our schools. And we can proudly also boast that we are giving our children an early start, that we have the highest enrollment in nursery school education in Guyana. This is where we spend our money on our people. I can say the same thing about health. I remember in 1992, when I was campaigning for a victory of the PPP in 1992, I had an article from the Stabrook News about a situation in the Georgetown Public Hospital where a 5-year-old girl child had her hand eaten off above the elbow by a rat in the public hospital in Georgetown. Today we are doing cardiac surgery, open heart surgery at the public hospital in Georgetown. We have a cancer ward. We have built a cancer ward so that people, if it is caught in time, can get treatment for cancer. We have dialysis services. We have a boys unit. We have a modern hospital. And very soon, we're going to open a new wing for the maternity section to ensure that our women and our mothers will have comfortable position to deliver their babies. And our housing program is an envy. It's an envy of the rest of the world, of the Caribbean. We have given our people house lots. Young people have the opportunity of owning their own homes. I myself, I did not have my own home until I was 48 years old. I went the other day to one of the one-stop shops that was organized in distributing house lots to people. And there I found people of 24 and 26 years old having their own house lots now to build their own lives independently. Those are achievements that cannot be wished away, my friends, cannot be wished away. No spin will change that. And that is why on May 11th we will return with the biggest majority in the history of this country. My dear comrades, our achievements are there for all to see. Our working people have also experienced a real growth and a real development in their income. Not only in these indirect ways about health and education and housing that they have them subsidized, but we have a minimum wage now in Guyana. Over the last 3 years, it rose by 18%. An income tax threshold is now $50,000, allowing people to have more incomes in their pockets. We have had great improvement in personal income tax levels. We were able to cut it from 33.33% to 30%. And we introduced mortgage interest relief for our low-income people. And all of that, we were not forgotten our elderly. We removed the means test. When people used to only get $300 a month, they're now getting $13,200 a month. Where else in the world do you have a non-contributory pension scheme for $13,200 a month? And our pensioners also get relief with the electricity and water rates that government pays for them. All of these things we have been doing. My dear comrades, while we have achieved a lot, I feel this as just a platform that we have to build on, and we have to go on more and more. We have to create more jobs. Our people who are coming out of schools more qualified. Those that are coming out of our technical institutes more qualified. We have to create more jobs for them. And that is why when we win the next election, I promise you, before the end of the year, we will start the construction of the Amaila hydropower station. That project is important to create the turn of our country into a manufacturing, industrial country, to allow us to create high-paying jobs for our people. That project is important for so many things. We will be able to save every year the $9 billion in subsidy that we have for electricity that can go into the communities to deal with some of the problems of roads, drainage, garbage that our community have to face. To put lights in the community to fight crime so that we can see in the night very clearly and discourage criminal activities. The Amaila is important in many, many ways, but that is only one aspect of our energy sector. Guyana got the ability. We have.
That's why you need him.
Hello. Yes, Guyana got the capacity, comrades, to not only producing power from Amaila, we have the capacity of turning our energy sector into a major sector that we can export energy to other parts of the world and our neighbors in the Caribbean. We can generate the work of Comrade Samuel Hinds has laid the foundation to allow us to develop and export power all over the South America, Brazil, Venezuela, and other places. These things we can do. We can do these things. We can do these things easily as we continue to build on our capacity and our human resources. We have to make new infrastructure. We have come a far way. We have come a far way in not only restoring but adding new infrastructure to our development. But we now need to go to another level to have new infrastructure to develop. As I speak here now, the Panama Canal is being expanded. They're expanding the Panama Canal so that bigger and bigger ships will be used in order to transport goods and services. We have to put ourselves in readiness. And one of the priority projects we have is to build a deep water harbor in our country. And that will be located right here in the Berbice area in Guyana. And also to maximize so that we can become a maritime hub. We can become a maritime hub for our country. We are going to pave the road. We are going to pave the road from Linden to Lazem to allow us to have the synergies from one of the largest economies in the world, Brazil. That will allow us to increase our revenues and allow us to provide even more quality services for the people of this country. In agriculture too, we intend to diversify. We intend to make the coconut industry a major industry like rice and sugar in Guyana. We intend to bring new crops, soya and corn, so that we can develop our livestock industry and become an exporter in poultry and meat in Guyana. These are some of the things that will allow us, allow us to have food security, not only for our country, but we will be able to secure food for the rest of the Caribbean. These are the things that we are doing. And also, we will continue to work despite the opposition's position on cutting the development of the Cheddie Jagan International Airport. We will continue to build a new airport so we can also become a major hub in the region here. And comrades and friends, even before I became president, under the leadership of President Jagdeo, we started a one laptop for family program. And that was with a purpose in mind, to ensure that very soon we will have universal literacy in computer skills. That will allow us to use the advantage, to take advantage from the information and telecommunication technology that is playing a more and more important role in our region and in the world. Very soon, we are already seeing the benefits of that, as one company, Qualfan, is building a campus at Eccles, and when that is completed, they will have about 4,000 to 6,000 new jobs for people right there in Eccles area. Comrades, these are some of the plans we have. We have planned for the mining sector. As you know, before the end of this year, we expect that 2 large new gold mining companies will begin operations. And as you know, 2 days ago, their drilling has resumed, of course, and very soon we can become an oil and gas producing country in the world. This is the direction that we are going. And we will continue to ensure that we transform and we have quality education in our country. We will ensure that in every family we will not rest. We will continue to work in the housing ministry to ensure that every family got their own roof over their heads. That is what we are going to continue to work for. And my friends, in security, we are going to look more and more for training of our policemen and women, more training, more equipment, more capital we will put into them. We will ensure that we bring down the crimes in this country. We will put measures in place to improve the response time of the police force in dealing with crimes in Guyana. We will ensure that we have the capacity to do all of these things, putting lights in the road, lights in the communities, and putting other type of equipment to deter crime in the first instance and to solve them when they take place. I have no doubt that this will have been the course and the direction that Cheddie Jagan would have taken had he been alive till today. And he had to fight against. I take comfort in the fact that Cheddie Jagan had to fight against tremendous odds. He had to fight treachery as well. He had, in fact, if you read the Western trial, you will see one of the chapters is talking about treachery, some of the treachery that he had to confront. And so today, I am not worried about the treacherous actions of those in the opposition. Those who claim that they have nothing to apologize for, that the PNC must not apologize for anything. The same PNC that rigged the election and brought our country to ruins, they say they don't want to apologize. And some of them who claim that they were loving Rodney, even Nagamutu, who was a journalist who covered the murder of Rodney, now refusing to go to the Rodney Commission. He has joined the killers of Rodney. He has joined the covering up period of the PNC period in our country. This is what they're doing. They now want us to forget Jim Jones, forget all of these things, forget the fact. They want to forget the fact that when the PNC was in government, that they handed out, it came out clearly at the Rodney Commission, that they handed out weapons to criminals and thugs. That guns were found with criminals. Guns were found with, those same guns were found with criminals. My comrades, that is what is at stake at these elections. I want to warn you that we cannot make any mistakes this time. That we cannot make any mistakes. Our country has gone through too much. We cannot reverse. Now is the time for us to continue in the direction that we have started. Now is the time for us to build and make our country more progressive, modern and prosperous. And therefore I ask you, in the name of Cheddie Jagan, in the name of the PPP, I ask you to stand by me on May 11th as we go forward to win this election.
Long live the PPP! Long live the legacy of Dr. Cheddie Jagan! We will be certainly going into the elections of May 11th as a united force to ensure that the legacy of Dr. Cheddie Jagan